Nobody in that courtroom could hold back their tears because Judge Frank Caprio's decision would affect not just one life, but thousands of hearts. The silence in Providence Municipal Court was broken only by the ticking of the wall. Judge Frank Caprio, 72 years old, had sat behind that same desk for 30 years, presided over thousands of cases, and rendered countless decisions. But that Tuesday morning, the woman who walked through his door would bring a test that would shake both his career and his heart. Wait a minute, you won't believe this story when you hear it. Morning silence. Providence's old courthouse building carried the weight of history in its walls, housing hundreds of stories. Frank Caprio sips his morning coffee while gazing out the window at the Federal Hill landscape. His father, Antonio's family, grocery business, established in the 1950s, was now in other hands. But Frank had brought the values he learned from his father into this courtroom: humanity, compassion, and equal respect for everyone. That morning's case docket was busier than usual. Traffic violations, minor offenses, property disputes, routine matters. Until a woman named Maria Santos walked in at 10:30, but the real shocking part hadn't even started yet. Maria was a 34-year-old nurse working in the COVID unit at Providence General Hospital. Her hands were cracked, dark circles under her eyes from exhaustion. A mother of two, Maria was just one of millions trying to survive after her husband's sudden death, the face of desperation. Maria Santos, Caprio called out while looking at the file. Parking violation, unpaid traffic tickets, total of 1,047.47. Maria stood up, her hands trembling. Your Honor, please defend yourself, Caprio said gently. 30 years of experience had taught him patience. Maria's voice cracked. My husband died of COVID 5 months ago. I work in the COVID unit at the hospital. I have to work. I pull 3 shifts to feed my kids. When I leave my car in the hospital parking lot, sometimes the meter expires. I'm so tired, I forget. And at that moment, something broke in everyone's hearts. Caprio set his pen down on the desk. He'd occupied the seat for 30 years, but had never experienced a moment like this. Before him stood a woman crushed by the system. Someone serving society, but being punished by society. Continue, he said calmly, but moved. Your Honor, I try to keep people alive at the hospital. After 12-hour shifts, I go home, cook for my kids, help with their homework. Next day, same thing. Because I forgot to put money in a parking meter, I can't afford to pay this anymore. System versus humanity. Court clerk Janet Morrison looked at Caprio. The rules were clear. $1847 to be paid, otherwise license suspension. That's how the system worked. But Caprio's mind wandered to his father's words. Franco, don't lose your humanity while seeking justice. But something incredible was about to happen. Nobody could have predicted this. Miss Santos, Caprio stood up, his voice carrying 30 years of authority. You saved lives during the pandemic. You took risks for us, for all of us. And now the system is punishing you because you forgot to put money in a meter at the hospital parking lot. The courtroom fell silent. Even the court reporter stopped typing. This isn't justice, Caprio continued, his voice growing stronger. This is absurd. Maria's eyes welled up. Your Honor, No, Caprio raised his hand. You don't need to explain. The system needs to explain. The moment of decision. Caprio closed the file and turned directly to Maria. In 30 years of his career, he had never been more certain. Mrs. Santos, this court owes you something. Your $1847 fine is dismissed. The courtroom fell silent. You could hear a pin drop, but even better was coming. Furthermore, Caprio pulled out his checkbook from his pocket. I'm donating $500 from my personal account to you. Take care of your children. Maria fell to her knees. Her eyes filled with tears. She couldn't speak. Caprio got up from his desk, walked to Maria, and gently touched her shoulder. Stand up, Mrs. Santos. You're a hero. The pride of this country. Unexpected backlash. But not everyone would be happy with this decision. Loud footsteps came from the courtroom door. Providence Mayor Jorge Alorza entered with 2 advisors. His face was red, his hands shaking. Judge Caprio, his voice was cracking. What does this mean? You're paying a fine with your own money. This is where the real conflict was starting. Caprio turned calmly but firmly. Mayor Alorza, are you questioning a court decision? I'm responsible for protecting this city's taxpayers' money. You're breaking the rules. I'm seeking justice, Caprio's voice strengthened. This woman saved lives during the pandemic. While she was working in that hospital, we were at home, and now we're finding her when Alorza approached angrily. Rules are rules. Everyone is equal. Equal? Caprio laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. Rich people send lawyers. Fines get paid. Poor parents come here, forced to choose food for their kids or parking fines. Social pressure. That evening, Caprio's decision went viral on social media. Video clips spread with headlines, "Judge pays with his own money." Reactions were split. Supporters, "This is what real justice looks like. This man is the leader America needs." Caprio for president. Opposition, "Disrespect for the law. Wasting taxpayer money. Rules should apply equally to everyone." But the biggest shock would happen the next day. The Providence Journal's front page headline in large print: "Judge Caprio in controversy with controversial decision, calls for resignation." The news reached up to the Rhode Island governor. Governor McKee held a press conference. "Judge Caprio's decision is a personally nice gesture, but legal processes don't work this way. We're starting an investigation. Internal reckoning." That night at home, Caprio ate dinner quietly with his wife Joyce. In their 45-year marriage, Joyce had never seen her husband so thoughtful. "Frank, do you regret it?" Joyce asked. Caprio set his fork down on the table. "Joyce, I saw the desperation in that woman's face. 2 kids, a mother working in a pandemic unit, and the system is crushing her. But your career is in danger." "My career?" Caprio laughed. "I'm 72 years old. What do I have to fear at this age?" But the next morning, he would learn there was plenty to fear. Media storm. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all national channels picked up the story. Each interpreted it from their own perspective. Sean Hannity, liberal judge in Rhode Island, disregards the law. Anderson Cooper, a judge's humanity lesson and the system's double standard. Heated debate on The View. Whoopi Goldberg defended the story, while Meghan McCain emphasized the importance of legal processes. Caprio's secretary gave up answering phones. Interview requests, threatening messages, support letters. Everything came flooding and mixed together. And just then an unexpected visitor appeared at the door. Surprise visit, Wednesday afternoon. An unprecedented scene entered the courthouse. Maria Santos. But this time she wasn't alone. Behind her was a group of 15 people. Nurses, doctors, firefighters, police officers, teachers, all came with the same message: "We support Judge Caprio." Maria stepped forward, holding a file. "Your Honor, these letters were written for you, from people who serve others every day in Providence, but never speak up." What was written in those letters that brought tears to Caprio's eyes? The first letter was from a retired firefighter. "I fought fires for 30 years. Nobody ever showed me understanding about parking tickets." Frank Caprio showed that understanding. This man is a real leader. The second letter was from a teacher raising 3 kids alone. "I worked cleaning after school. Sometimes I forgot my parking meter, my kids' food, or the fine." Frank Caprio sees this injustice. Media attack. That evening, the Providence Journal ran a bombshell headline: "Caprio's secret past. He did the same thing 10 years ago." The story, through detailed investigation, revealed that Caprio had made system-defying decisions for years. The Providence Business Journal published a scandalous article: "Caprio's decisions cost the city $2.8 million annually." Economic experts claim Caprio's soft approach was harming the city. When laws are enforced, tax revenue increases, public services strengthen. Caprio's decisions are populist, but economically harmful. Internal conflict. That night, Caprio sat alone at home. Joyce was asleep, but he couldn't sleep. Questions swirled in his head. Am I really doing wrong? Should I be strict for the system to work? Should I sacrifice people like Maria Santos for the bigger picture? His phone rang. The caller was someone whose number he didn't recognize. Judge Caprio? This is Dr. Robert Chen, Chief of Medicine at Providence General Hospital. I know Maria Santos. That woman worked 18-hour shifts during the pandemic. She caught COVID twice, but kept coming to work. This country owes her, not the other way around. And this phone call brought information that would change everything. Judge, there's something you don't know, Dr. Chen continued. On the days Maria got those parking tickets, she saved 47 lives at the hospital. I have the COVID unit records. She was dealing with dying patients while getting those tickets. After hanging up, Caprio remained silent for a long time. What was justice? Applying rules or seeing the human counterattack? The next morning when he arrived at court, he faced an unexpected scene. Mayor Elorza was in his office with 2 lawyers and a financial inspector. Judge Caprio, Elorza spoke in an official tone. I'm tasked with giving you a formal warning. Your arbitrary decisions are disrupting the city's financial order. From now on, all your decisions will be under review. But Caprio's response would make him legendary. Mr. Mayor, Caprio stood up, his voice carrying 30 years of authority. Are you giving me a law lesson? Where were you when I was a legal counsel? This isn't personal, it's procedural. Personal? Caprio slammed his fist on the desk. The system destroying Maria Santos's personal life is procedural. The crushing of workers, mothers, selfless people is procedural. Elorza stepped back. Judge, I what? Am I too old? Too emotional? I came to this seat 30 years ago when they said I was too young. Now they say I'm too old. Must mean I'm doing something right. Social support. That evening, something unexpected happened on Providence's street. Hundreds of people organized a silent vigil in front of the courthouse. Candlelight, silence, just one banner. Thank you, Judge Caprio. Maria Santos was there too. This time, instead of her nurse uniform, she wore a black dress, holding a letter in her hand. To Judge Caprio, she read aloud, "You are more than a judge. You made justice look like a father, a grandfather, a human being. My children will no longer fear the court because they know there are people like you." And just then, something else nobody expected happened. Lights approached from behind the crowd. 3 television channels, 2 newspapers, and a digital platform. National media had come to Providence. CNN correspondent Anderson Cooper extended his microphone to Maria. How did these events affect you? Judge Caprio, Maria spoke with sparkling eyes, didn't just dismiss a fine. He reminded me that I'm human again. Internal war, but a storm was raging inside Caprio. That night, talking with Joyce at home. Joyce, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the system works this way because it can't work any other way. What happens if everyone wants exceptions? Joyce touched her husband's hand. Frank, you've been seeking justice here for 30 years. Are you worried because you finally found it? But the phone call that came the next day would show the gravity of everything. At 7:30 a.m., the phone rang. Rhode Island Supreme Court Chief Justice Paul Suttel was calling. Frank, I understand the situation, but there's pressure from Washington. Your decision made national news. Judicial independence versus populism debate. You need to be careful. Paul, I did what was right. Right or popular? This question made Caprio think deeply. Had he really done the right thing? Or had he been swayed by emotion? Voice from the past. That evening, there was an unexpected visitor at his door. Antonio Caprio Jr., Frank's older brother and retired police chief. Frankie, Tony used his old jokes. Have you lost your mind? You too, Tony? No, I support you. But be careful. You have powerful enemies in this city. Tony placed a file on the table. What's this? Frank asked. Elorza's financial records. Last year, the city spent $8.7 million in consulting from the city budget. To whom? To the mayor's relatives, friends, political supporters. Tony continued. You get questioned for spending $500 from your own pocket, but he's wasting millions? This file would give Caprio unexpected power. Media war. The next day, Providence experienced media madness. Washington Post, Boston Globe, New York Times. Everyone was analyzing the Caprio incident. Wall Street Journal, populist judiciary, America's new threat. The Guardian, when a judge becomes human. American justice story. USA Today, Judge Frank Caprio, hero or rule breaker. Tucker Carlson defended Caprio on Fox News. This man has served for 30 years. He shows humanity once and the system attacks him. This isn't America. Rachel Maddow opposed on MSNBC. Judicial decisions aren't made with emotions. Law applies equally to everyone, but nothing they discussed on television could compare to what Caprio would experience that night. Midnight threat. At 11:47 p.m. there was a knock at the door. Caprio peeked through the window curtain. Two men outside, in suits, but not looking official. Judge Caprio, we need to talk. Frank didn't open the door. I don't know who you are, but if you don't have an official appointment, we're from the Providence Business Association. Your decisions are affecting the city's investment climate. We want you to correct them. Now the real truth was emerging. This wasn't just a matter of justice. Investment climate? Caprio laughed. Destroying Maria Santos' life is investment climate? Judge, big money moves here. The revenue the city gets from fines is important for big companies. Your decision sets a precedent. Showing humanity can't be precedent. That should be natural. Social awakening. But Providence's streets weren't quiet. After Caprio's decision, a ripple effect occurred. Small business owners on Federal Hill began offering free services to Maria Santos. Amoroso Bakery sent free bread for the children. Tony's Authentic Italian Restaurant started weekly free meal service for the family. Like a stone thrown into water, the ripples were expanding. Nurses at Providence General Hospital established the Caprio, a relief fund for healthcare workers who got parking tickets. $15,000 was collected in the first week. Local 1199 Nurses Union made an official statement. Judge Caprio stood by our pandemic heroes. We stand by him. Unexpected alliance. Judges across America who heard about the Rhode Island situation broke their silence. Judge Karen Khalil from Detroit. I've made similar decisions. Sometimes the system moves away from humanity. Judge Michael Rodriguez from California. Caprio showed courage. We should too. Judge Sarah Williams from Colorado. There's a justice not written in law books. Human justice. And the most surprising support would come from an unexpected place. High-level support. Georgetown University Law School Dean Margaret Foster made an official statement. Judge Caprio's behavior may be legally debatable, but morally flawless. The purpose of the legal system is to correct injustice, not create it. Harvard Law Review editor Alan Dershowitz. Caprio versus system case could be one of the turning points in American legal history. And at this point, the most unexpected support came. A personal letter from retired Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy. Dear Judge Caprio, my 30 years of Supreme Court experience taught me this. When law is separated from humanity, it becomes tyranny. You brought humanity back to law. Congratulations. System's response. The Rhode Island Judicial Commission called an emergency meeting. The 5-member commission would decide whether to open an investigation into Caprio. Commission Chairman, Judge William Robinson III. We believe our colleague Caprio is well-intentioned, but there are legal boundaries. But the commission's youngest member, Judge Patricia Lynch, thought differently. Investigating Judge Caprio means punishing courage. And what happened during the vote was more dramatic than anyone could predict. The vote, 3-2. A formal investigation into Caprio was opened. The news hit Providence like a bomb. Supporters flooded the streets. Opponents celebrated. Family support. That evening, the Caprio family gathered at the old house on Etwells Avenue. 3 children, 6 grandchildren. Everyone was worried. Eldest son David, a lawyer. Dad, are you considering resignation? No, Frank's answer was firm. I've served here for 30. I believe I'm on the right path. His youngest granddaughter, Sophia, 8 years old. Grandpa, did you do something bad? Frank took his granddaughter in his arms. No, sweetheart. I helped a mother. That's not a bad thing. But what her teacher would say at school the next day would make Sophia cry. Children's justice. Sophia's teacher, Mrs. Peterson, said in class, sometimes grown-ups make wrong decisions. Law is important because everyone should be equal. Sophia raised her hand. But teacher, my grandpa didn't do anything bad. He just helped a mother. Sophia, laws should be the same for everyone. That mother heals sick people. My grandpa helped her too. That's not bad. The class fell silent. An 8-year-old child had simplified what adults had complicated, and that child's innocent question would start a huge movement. Children's justice movement. Sophia's words went viral on social media. The Children for Caprio hashtag was trending. Children across the country started drawing pictures supporting Caprio. The movement started from elementary schools in Providence. Students began making "Thank you, Judge Caprio" cards. 2,000 students from Cranston Elementary, 150 students from federal elementary. Thousands of children supported Caprio with their drawings. One 6-year-old's drawing particularly stood out. A judge, a nurse, and 2 children, written underneath in broken handwriting. Justice, being good. This innocence would shame the adult. Investigation Day. The Rhode Island Judicial Commission's Investigation Day arrived. The hearing held at Providence's historic State House was broadcast live on national television. Commission Chairman Robinson began the formal procedure. Judge Frank Caprio, you stand accused of exceeding your legal authority and using personal financial resources in official decisions. I object. A sharp voice echoed in the hall. Everyone turned. It was Maria Santos speaking, but she was no longer the timid nurse. She wore a business suit, hair up, posture straight. She looked like a lawyer. Why had Maria changed like this? Did she have a secret? Maria's hidden past. Honorable Commission members. Maria stood and spoke. May I introduce myself? I'm Maria Santos, nurse at Providence General Hospital, but also a Georgetown University Law School graduate. The hall was shocked. Nobody knew Maria had a law degree. I graduated in 2008, but couldn't find work at law firms due to the financial crisis. I became a nurse because that was also service. That was also valuable, but I never left law. She was about to drop the bomb. You're accusing Judge Caprio because he used his personal money. But I did a system analysis. Providence Municipality spent $8.7 million in consulting last year. To whom? To the mayor's relatives, friends, political supporters. Commission members looked at each other. Judge Caprio gets questioned for spending $500, but millions in waste isn't questioned. If this isn't double standards, what is? Bombshell. Maria continued. More importantly, I analyzed Judge Caprio's 30 years of decisions, 94% compliant with laws, 6% humanitarian decisions. The total of this claimed to have cost the city $2.8 million in damages. She read from the paper she pulled from the file. In the same period, the value gained to the city through social service, thanks to Caprio's decisions. The hall fell into dead silence. What do you mean? Commission member Lynch asked. Maria's answer would surprise everyone. The social service done by the people Judge Caprio helped, the educational support they received, the businesses they established, all returned to the city. $500 in aid came back as $5,000, and Maria played her final card. I have a letter from the federal government from last week. Cities that adopt Caprio's approach will receive additional budget for social programs. Providence can also apply. Amount, $50 million. Turning point. Commission Chairman Robinson. Nobody had expected this information. Mrs. Santos, can you prove these claims? Maria placed a thick file on the table. Everything's inside. Financial analysis, social impact assessment, federal correspondence. Judge Caprio hasn't just made fair decisions. He's made economically sound ones. And just then, the door opened. The person who entered surprised everyone. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee had come personally. Honorable Commission members. The governor spoke. I'm asking you to stop this investigation. Why? Everyone wondered. Because I received instructions from Washington. Judge Caprio's approach has been selected as a pilot project for federal social program reform. Rhode Island will receive $500 million in federal support next year. Moment of victory. Commission vote. Investigation closed. Caprio watched quietly from the back of the hall. He'd never been more tense in his 30-year career, but now the weight was lifted from his shoulders. Maria approached him. Your Honor, how can I thank you? Mrs. Santos. Caprio smiled. You already thanked me. You reminded me of my humanity. But the story wasn't ending here. The best part was coming. National impact. CBS 60 Minutes did a special program on Caprio. Morally safer. Judge Caprio, you showed America what justice should look like. Netflix announced the Judge Frank Caprio story documentary. People magazine. Judge Caprio, America's most inspiring person, on the cover. And the most surprising, Time magazine's 2024 most influential 100 people list included Frank Caprio. Category Heroes. Personal transformation. Caprio was no longer just Providence's judge. He was giving guest lectures at law schools nationwide. At Harvard Law School, law should serve humanity, not humanity to law. At Yale, justice should be blind, but not heartless. At Stanford, the best judge isn't the one who memorizes law, but who understands justice. But his most meaningful speech would be in a place he never expected. Homecoming. A year later, Frank Caprio Day was declared in Providence. The city council decided unanimously, the same council that had criticized him a year earlier. A festival was organized on Federal Hill that day. Italian music, traditional food,
playgrounds for children. The entire Providence community was celebrating Caprio. Maria Santos gave the opening speech. A year ago, I was a hopeless mother. Today I teach law at Georgetown University. This change started with one judge's courage, but the most meaningful moment of the festival was yet to come. 8-year-old Sophia Caprio took the stage. She held a letter she had written to her grandfather. Dear Grandpa, you taught me what justice means. Helping people isn't injustice. It's real justice. I want to be like you when I grow up. During Sophia's words, the crowd of 5,000 gave a standing ovation. Tears streamed from eyes. Final return. After the festival, Caprio returned to the old courthouse building. He was retired now, but his office was still in the same place. He looked at the last file waiting on his desk. Another traffic ticket case. Another desperate person. Joyce stood beside him. Frank, you're retired now. Another judge will see this case. I know, Frank smiled, but I wanted to prove to myself I did the right thing. He opened the file. Juan Rivera, 28 years old, father of 2, delivers pizza. Parking fine $150, and Frank Caprio, sitting at his desk one last time, would make his decision. He wrote on the file, fine dismissed. Reason: single father working to support his family deserves understanding, not punishment. Legacy: the Caprio Institute for Compassionate Justice was established bearing Frank Caprio's name. At Brown University, future judges receive humanitarian law education. Maria Santos manages the Santos Caprio Social Justice scholarships at Georgetown. A new plaque was hung at Providence Municipal Court. Justice is strengthened by understanding, but the most beautiful ending came in the most unexpected way. Finale: 5 years later, Caprio at 77 was walking on Providence Street. He still lived in the same Federal Hill, same neighborhood. A young woman approached him. Judge Caprio, I'm Dr. Isabella Santos, Maria Santos' daughter. I graduated from Georgetown Law, and I say this with my mother as witness. You changed my life. How? When that fine was dismissed, my mother cried. I cried too, but while crying, I saw this. Justice really exists, and I wanted to become a judge too. I was appointed last month to Hartford Family Court. Isabella's final words would bring tears to Frank's eyes. Judge Caprio, in every decision I make, I ask this: is this humane, just like you taught? Frank smiled. Then my work here is complete. Real change. Frank Caprio's story isn't just a judge's tale. He became an example showing that the system can change. Providence Municipal Court now conducts humanitarian situation assessments in every case. Maria Santos' case became precedent. And you, if you were in his place, what would you have answered? The most important lesson Caprio taught was this: justice isn't sought only in laws, it's also sought in the heart. The system should serve people, not people serve the system. Today, when walking on Providence streets, people still greet Frank Caprio. They say, "Thank you, Judge." He smiles back and responds, "I thank you for reminding me of my humanity." This story teaches us, sometimes breaking rules requires more courage than protecting them. Sometimes, the real voice of justice isn't heard in courtrooms, but in a mother's desperate gaze. What city are you watching from? Share in the comments. And if you believe stories of people like Frank Caprio need to be heard, hit that subscribe button. Humanity is always stronger than rules. Always.